on the, George was talking about, interesting as always, talking about Mario Cuomo's speech at the Republican convention and his father calling him, was it his father? About the middle class. Right. It's very hard to make a spicy, sexy political speech about the middle class. It is much more effective, as Cuomo showed us, to talk about the poor, people who are in need and who are being neglected. It causes an emotional response. To talk about people who are working and doing okay and have a Chevrolet and a Plymouth or something and a house with a carport, there's nothing really very exciting about it. I'd hate to have to make a speech about the middle class.
But you know, you remind me, David, that it may be that the generation of Democrats people thought they were raising were really a generation of Republicans.
Well, if a Republican group had appeared on the Berkeley campus back in the days of the 60 riots, I think I might have feared for their safety.
Exactly.
In the days when they were burning flags and listening to Professor Marcuse. I'm not sure they existed. If they did, they probably stayed out of sight.
Standing by. Chris, were you able to see the ceremony?
Yes, I was, Tom. We did have a portable monitor out here, and I agree with John. You know, the simplicity of it was the elegance of it. None of the hoopla. It was just the bare bones of the Constitution, the succession of power, just as it's written there.
35 words in all. Natural-born citizen, must have been a resident of the United States for 14 years. President qualifies on all counts, so does Vice President Bush.
You know, I couldn't help but think, Tom, that if this is the inaugural and the beginning of the second term, it's also the end of something. It really is the final end of the 1984 campaign, and for all of us who shivered out in the cold of Iowa during the caucuses, who were on the floor of the Democratic and Republican conventions this summer, all over the country during the fall campaign, it's finally over, and we have a winner and a new president.
Well, let the word go forth. Chris Wallace has proclaimed that Ronald Reagan won the presidential election.
Oh, is that so? I
think we're breaking news here on a Sunday just shortly afternoon in Washington, D.C.
Good morning. You're looking at the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., a city all dressed up and filled to capacity to celebrate the inauguration of George Herbert Walker Bush as the 41st President of the United States. It's a time of mixed emotions, of solemn allegiance and sober reflection to be sure, but also of festive excitement and great anticipation. A new administration's time is at hand. This is the last full day of the Reagan years today, Thursday, the 19th of January, 1989.
One group that George Bush will be working with a great deal over the next 4 years, the people at Congress. Will theirs be a kinder, gentler relationship? We'll talk with the Speaker of the House, Jim Wright, about the budget negotiations and other matters that they'll be dealing with.
A big bash called the Inauguration Gala. But even as George Bush basks in the festivities, some are beginning to wonder just what it is he intends to do with the presidency when he steps into it tomorrow.
The ambition of my presidency to make these 1,000 points of light shine brighter than ever before.
But experts say his slogans shed little light on the Bush vision.
George Bush doesn't seem to have a vision, overall vision as to where government should go. He's coming into office trying to solve a few problems and to maintain existing policy.
Many consider Ronald Reagan the visionary, George Bush the mechanic. Reagan set the agenda. Bush will carry it out and try to clean up the problems Reagan left behind.
People didn't want any basic change of direction. That's why they voted for Bush and not for Dukakis.
But with only one day before inauguration, some wonder whether the Bush presidency is already more style than substance.
And some see leadership as high drama. Those are phrases that could contrast him with President Reagan in terms of Bush wanting to come on as a realist rather than a dramatist in some way.
Bob Schieffer, last night with Alan Simpson, Senator from Wyoming, and lovely and engaging Mrs. Simpson, point was raised that George Bush, why, every time he's been put to a major test, he's met the test. Whether you like him or don't like him, whether you agree with his policies or not, he's had a lifetime history of delivering.
The rap on George Bush in some of his early career, of course, is when the chips were down that he didn't come through. But over the last year, I guess the phrase would be, he has really gotten his act together.
Everyone's gun violence, I should say. Everyone's already taking up Camp's positions here, politely saying, "Oh, we'll take a look at the proposals," but behind the scenes, they're setting the stage for a big fight. I don't. This is not suddenly going to usher in a new era of a lot of kumbaya singing in Washington, D.C.
It's so rare for us to get an extended glimpse, and that wasn't certainly not an extended glimpse, but it's so rare for us to get a glimpse of the first family. Do you have any sense of covering?